Background's engineering, and I was brought up in an environment where, just normal life, and I educated in aircraft engineering, which I'd done for over 20 years. And then I was involved with a serious accident, which, I broke both of my arms, but my left arm was rendered paralysed. Unfortunately, they operated on 5 times to save my arm, which was great. They saved it. But the specialist said, unfortunately, the nerves were so badly damaged that I would never get my arm back. So then I was actually still working on the aircraft. And so a friend of mine was doing healing. She'd done various types of healing modalities around. And I'd never, ever believed in any of it. I just thought it was hocus pocus, never believed. And then obviously having this accident and having this problem, she had said that I discovered this amazing new innovative techniques, and I should go over there. And the great grand master of all this it was actually in the US at the time, was coming over, and you should meet him. So I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'm going to go and see this Chinese man for maybe a healing or something, and I needed a holiday. This is honestly how I looked at it. I thought, well, I need a holiday. I need to get away. So I packed my bags, booked a couple of weeks holiday, went over to America. And the funny thing was that she'd actually booked me on 2 of the classes, which obviously I wasn't too happy about, because I had to pay for these additional things that I didn't or wasn't aware of. But the great thing was that I met the man then known as Master Cho Kizzi. Anyway, I took the classes, and it was very logical anyway, because he was a scientist and a chemical engineer. Took the class, understood the principles, felt a lot of things, validated a lot of things as I'd done. But then that's when he said, well, use this specific technique, which I also liked. If you use it, you'll get your arm back within 6 months. Well, for me, I had nothing to lose, a lot to gain. That was the thing. So I started applying it, which you learn to apply these things on yourself, which I did. And every day I used it. And literally within 6 months, I got my arm back. I got all feeling back, movement in my arm, fingertips, everything came back, which was incredibly miraculous. But even at that stage, being a skeptical person, I still didn't believe that I could do such a thing. So there was still a bit of doubt, should we say, in what I'd done. Then from that, my dad had a serious heart attack, and he couldn't walk, a few feet. He was in a very, very bad way. So I asked him that, I apply these techniques, and they're very case specific. So like a heart attack, heart disease, there's literally a technique that you apply with that. So that's what I did. I applied it, although he was looking at me and thought it very, very odd. But within 2 weeks of me doing this, he changed a lot. He could breathe properly, he could walk, he could do things, wasn't getting out of breath. And so it improved and improved. And cut us, quite a relatively short story. Within 12 months, he had another heart check. And they found medically there was absolutely nothing wrong with his heart. And a year before, obviously, he had a serious heart attack. They said that his heart was so badly damaged that he may not live or survive over 12 months. So the more things I did and worked on with friends, family, colleagues at work that were highly skeptical as engineers, all of these techniques just kept working and working and working. So bit by bit, my skepticism, if you like, my own skepticism, just faded into oblivion. And that's when I knew that I had something incredibly special that I could apply on people. And, 80-90% of the time it was working. So it was an incredible journey up till that point. And it just got bigger and bigger as we went.
I'm just wondering whether it would have been possible for you to have gone back to your career and working as an aerospace engineer if you know that this practice actually works and it can transform people's lives. Would it have been possible to have gone back to your old way of living?
Not once I got to a point. I mean, I literally carried on being an engineer for quite some time. And one of the funny things around it was, although it was building and getting more and more successful, and I was teaching from 10 people to 20 to 30 to 100 to 500 to 1,000. It was getting more and more, and so it was growing and growing because there's many levels of this. My wife wouldn't let me finish or change my job because obviously we had a mortgage to pay, children to feed, all of these things kept going. So I worked alongside with growing this practice for quite some time. So I've been doing it over 20 years, but I only finished my career in engineering just over 6 years ago. In the end, it just got so big that I just couldn't keep that side of my career going. So, but it changed my life so much within that first 12 months. Not only because I was helping others, but also you can turn this all on yourself. So not only I was helping myself physically, I started to help myself more emotionally, psychologically, started to understand my mind. My awareness started to change on how I was thinking, how I was feeling in life. And then there's techniques that apply, which is the psychotherapy side of this healing technique, where you start to help to remove emotions from your system. If you think your mind creates a thought and a feeling, thousands of them a day, and they just accumulate. That's what we class as a worry or a doubt or anxieties. So you can actually remove these anxieties out of the body. And my being skeptical, but also analytical, I found in the end was fear-based. That's why most people that are very analytical or skeptical, it's the unknown, isn't it? So straight away with people in the unknown, they dismiss it very easily or think it's quackery or work, things that aren't real. But the great thing about pranic healing, you validate every step you make, and also you can apply it to yourself. So it's case specific. So like I said to you with my dad with a heart disease, but it changed my life so much within that first 12 months. Not only because I was helping others, but also you can turn this all on yourself. So not only I was helping myself physically, I started to help myself more emotionally, psychologically, started to understand my mind. My awareness started to change on how I was thinking, how I was feeling in life. And then there's techniques that apply, which is the psychotherapy side of this healing technique, where you start to help to remove emotions from your system. If you think your mind creates a thought and a feeling, thousands of them a day, and they just accumulate. That's what we class as a worry or a doubt or anxieties. So you can actually remove these anxieties out of the body. And my being skeptical, but also analytical, I found in the end was fear-based. That's why most people that are very analytical or skeptical, it's the unknown, isn't it? So straight away with people in the unknown, they dismiss it very easily or think it's quackery or work, things that aren't real. But the great thing about pranic healing, you validate every step you make, and also you can apply it to yourself. So it's case specific. So like I said to you with my dad with a heart disease, there's literally in the techniques in the books that you learn from, if a person has from a cold, there's a technique for it. And if there's a heart disease, there's a technique for it. If someone has anxiety or depression or an addiction, there's a technique that you use for that particular condition. And so the more I learned this, the more one of the things that he done as Master Choa was that he discovered that every condition of the body, physical or psychological, there's a unique energy pattern it creates. So by reversing that energy pattern, then you can cure seemingly what's the incurable, which is quite amazing. And as I say, you can turn this on yourself. So you can self-help. And that's what I did with myself. It changed my life considerably, very quickly. So for instance, most complementary therapies or alternative therapies are a healing art. That means that a lot of the time you apply a healing to someone. So it's like one healing suits all. In other words, whatever the person's got, you're like energizing or putting the energy in to help that person with that condition. Now, pranic healing is a science. In other words, everything is a step-by-step procedure that you follow, and there's a technique that you will follow in the case of, as I say, cold to heart disease to stroke or even cancers. And then also then psychologically, there's set procedures and techniques that you follow. So it's a very, very vast technology, if you like, that lies behind quite a thing that's quite easy to learn for everyone. And that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to make it easy for people to learn, but then you applied a very unique, specific technique, if you like, to that condition. Whereas other techniques and other modalities don't apply it to that degree. Well, in many countries now, the medical profession are actually utilizing it alongside Western medicine. And that's the thing with this. It isn't alternative, it's complementary. You know, Western medicine has its field, pranic healing has its field, but many doctors that are now applying it are seeing the bridges and the gaps being filled, if you like. At the moment, which is a very good thing, but a lot of emotional content creates eventually a physical condition. So pranic healing is bridging those gaps as well, which at the moment you don't have that in medical and you don't have that in psychology, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I know that you've also taught pranic healing to alternative healthcare practitioners. What do you help them do?
Well, with, say, massage therapists, for instance, what we do with, or Reiki, massage therapists, reflexologists, acupuncturists, what we've done, we've bridged gaps for them, because where they apply, say, like Reiki, for instance, then the person normally or traditionally, it's a hands-on process. Now, it's over 250 years old or 200 years old. So applying a modern technique applies within Reiki, if you like. So it's like a bolt-on. So someone that does acupuncture, if they learn pranic healing, they can apply the pranic healing with the acupuncture. Same goes for massage. So pranic healing isn't something to take you away from your speciality or what you do. It adds on to what you do. So we found that people do massage, for instance, if they do the energy work, first of all, with pranic healing, and then they do a physical massage for the person, the results have been outstanding. So, you know, thousands of people that do massage have been taking pranic healing on board. Acupuncturists, the same. We've got many, many students that have come across, learnt the techniques, at least up to level 3, which is the psychotherapy. And once you learn the psychotherapy, then the person has no limits to help other people. And that's what a lot of people now are finding. It's quite incredible how it's helping in all numbers of ways, physically and psychologically. The reason why the medical will say it's a placebo effect, because they don't have the answer of why a person is cured from something if they don't give them medication or a certain treatment for that condition, but they still become cured. So they call it a placebo effect. But there is a curing system that goes on within the body. And, you know, once you learn all this, you know, it's hidden laws of nature. That's all it is, that we still haven't discovered through medical science, but it exists for obvious reasons. One of the things I think that going back was about fear and procrastination, one of the same thing. I wasted a lot of time waiting to do the right thing, or waiting, if you like, to get recognition or understanding of others, rather than just getting on with things and making things happen and move. That was one of the things. And when I look back, it was procrastination through fear of others' opinions or thoughts, which, you know, we waste a lot of time doing that. That's one thing to really eradicate and wipe out of your system, is fear of others and fear of doing the right or wrong things. Because that's the only way to learn. If you make mistakes, learn from mistakes, move on all the time. Don't sit, ponder and wonder or fear that outcome.
I guess that the one thing that a lot of entrepreneur or business leaders have in common is that fear of failure. It's that fear of doing something and for it not to work. How do you think we should handle that? How should we handle those moments when we've done something and it hasn't worked?
Just learn. I mean, one of the things that I learned, and he still do, none of us are perfect. We only learn through trying, experimenting, moving forward. This doesn't work. Always find another way. Don't ever stop. One of the things that my teacher taught me with because it's not only pranic healing you learn how to work with your mind. You learn techniques to eradicate, disintegrate, and remove fears, anxieties, all these sorts of things. So pranic healing is only one arm of all the extensive teachings within the Institute of Inner Studies. So one of the things that I learned was you have to remove fears and blockages, that your mind is the only thing that's creating it. Many people blame situations or circumstances or even other people, but really the only blockages is your mind. Your mind is the key factor to become aware of what's going on, like I did. I've become aware that my analytical views and my fear of change was something that I had to remove. Then by creating the positives within me and keep going, learning and adjusting, that is the only way forward. But if you stop, ponder and sit and wonder and why, like you said, the time ticks, years go by with many people and they have the wishes, I wish I'd have done this and wish I'd have done that. The thing is to move your body, get your mind working for you, positive all the time, and don't stop.
I guess the reality is that successful people, or people that we consider to be successful, fail more often than the average person does anyway.
Yes, indeed, yeah, because, things, climate and everything, we have, it's like any company, isn't it? They have a process, they have schedules, they have a target to meet. And when you're working for yourself or you're trying to build something, you have to turn your life to a degree into a business. Now, business don't always just go from the bottom up to the top. There's always the fluctuations. There's always the changes that have to take place. And one of the biggest things that we always have to be is, yes, you have to be one-pointed in your view, look at the target and go for it. But you also have to be very, very flexible in your approach to change what is needed to change. If you sit still and just keep going the same way and you don't change, like anything, it dies. You have to keep moving, keep changing, keep flexible.
If you could have one superpower, Les, what would you have?
I think one of the things that I would really love to do is to remove the fear and skepticism of new innovations, new processes, and new things for us to do. Because again, if we remove that from people's consciousness, then we as a human beings would develop and move so fast. It would take out a lot of insecurities, selfishness. If you just look at it and take it as this, there's enough things in the world for us to share. There's enough riches for everyone to share as well. And so if people took out that one thing of skepticism and selfishness because of the fears and inner beliefs, the whole world would change so rapidly. So if I had that superpower, would be take out the fears and skepticisms out of people's minds so that everyone could have a really good life. The biggest thing that moves me forward, as I say, is helping people to have a good life, to change. And one of the things that, I've studied so much about life and about the mind and how we work and how people operate. And, back to what I was saying earlier, but it really would, for me, that keeps me motivated is helping people to see the changes in their life for them to stop suffering and enjoy themselves. That's what we're here for. We're here for a very, very short period of time if we really think about it. And, when you're in your 20s, you're going to live forever and you can take on the world. But when you're 30, 40, and off it goes, you start to think, oh, blimey, well, life's going fast. Life's going past pretty quick. And that's why then people in the 30s, late 30s, 40s on, start to really look that there must be more to this life. So one of my biggest drivers is to get people to understand, to see the why, which we were talking about earlier, about the why of what people should do, do something that they like, their passion, drive their goals, make things change and happen in their life. That's the biggest thing.
Let's move into the future. Let's go 10 years into the future. What does the future look like for you? What will you be doing?
One of the biggest things I would really love to do in the future, and one of the visions I have, is to create a school of this teaching, not only what we do on one side, but all of the school of teaching, educate people at an early age to understand their lives, the purposes of their lives, and to create help all the way around the world. This is already in 126 countries around the world, so it's growing very fast. And my biggest vision is to really employ a school of teaching, get this into the educational system, get it into the also to the welfare system, the school, hospitals and everywhere, so everyone can learn this, to make it happen. And the vision of my teacher is to get it in every household. And so if it becomes mainstream, which it will do when everyone becomes more relaxed and not so skeptical, then, as I say, people will be helped all the way around the countries that we serve in and help, and people can have a better life. And that's really, truly is my goal.